There will be no chugging with the fellas tonight. The Phoenix Suns did not win Game 64. Ah, shucks. Matthew, I wasn't really expecting them to go out and get win 64, considering they were benching so many of their starting players. That being said, the Phoenix Suns were down by a total of 39 points at one point in this game and ended up scoring 48 points in the fourth quarter and only lose by 4. Nice effort by that third team, huh?
Yeah, it was nice. I'm glad they lost the game because it helps Devin Booker in his MVP race, right? You don't want this team to win when the bench comes in. Then they could do without Booker. You remove the MVP, you lose the game. That's what happens, man. But it got close at the end. I kind of liked it. I did kind of drift off and be like, where the fuck am I? And is this game over yet? I was like, wait, are we still got to do a podcast tonight? But it's not even 10 o'clock. It just seems like it's so late tonight. I don't know what's going on, but happy to be here, Jamsters.
This is the game that never ends. Yes, it went on and on, my friend. Yeah, indeed. It felt like it just would not end. It was nice that the third team fought the way that they did, got an opportunity to play some minutes that were valuable to them. Coach Mott got an opportunity to coach them up at the end and run sets for them as they tried to come all the way back from down 39. And there's a lot of little beneficial things about this game. But ultimately, I don't know in the grand scheme of things whether or not it was truly relevant. So that being said, we're still here for you, Jamsters. We're live after the Suns lose to the Los Angeles Clippers by a total of 4 points. Welcome to the Suns Jam Session podcast. You can follow the show at Suns Jam on Twitter. You can follow me at Darth Foyda. You can follow Matthew
Matthew Lissy.
And if you happen to be watching along live, hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell notification button. If you want to become an elite Jamster, hit the join button, and you will get elite content, which we'll be putting out, especially next week, because we're going to have a lot of dead time out there in between Suns games, with the last game being on Sunday and the next game being sometime after that. We have the whole play-in tournament, so we will have podcasts talking about some of those play-in tournament games. But if you want extra content, you got to become an elite Jamster, and you do so by pressing join in the YouTube channel. If you're listening to the podcast, subscribe, rate, and review. And if you happen to be on Apple Podcasts, give us 5-star rating, and a review will be read right here on the podcast. So, Matthew, I am not chugging with the fellas tonight. That was a good practice last night. It was great. Win 63. But through 80 games now, the team is 63-17. So I'm just going to pop open a beer.
Just pop it open.
And let's talk about this game against the Clippers and such. Cholula, this motherfucker. The Phoenix Suns did not start Chris Paul. They did not start Devin Booker or Jay Crowder or DeAndre Ayton, which brings me to the first question of the podcast for Matthew.
Matthew, I got to ask.
Matthew, I got to ask straight up. Did this game matter?
No, not at all. We got what we wanted last night. Tonight's game, it doesn't matter. The next 2 games doesn't matter. So what we're doing here doesn't even matter. Go to bed, Jamsters. No reason to listen to this. But no, it's fun though, because I was actually looking forward to seeing most of the bench play and see how Cam Johnson played tonight. Not too well. But, there's the things you look forward to with Mikal Bridges keeping a streak alive of games played. There's reasons to watch this game still, even though Eddie Johnson's kind of running through the same material 3 times tonight. Which is like, all right, Eddie, you said that twice already, dude. That's the way tonight was. So we might do the same thing. We might do a half hour and just redo the same half hour. Who knows?
There you go. We'll just play it over and over again. Well, to quote The Rock,
it doesn't matter.
It didn't matter tonight. You like that drop? I'm going to use that drop so much, man. Tonight.
It doesn't matter.
And I'm sorry. Ultimately, this is one of those games where we're at the back end of the season, and we had a great opportunity to see a lot of third-team guys because the second-team guys really didn't play well to start this game. Now, granted, they're going against the first-team guys of the Clippers, so, I mean, you kind of knew coming into this game that we were not going to see anything crazy from the Suns. You look at the first half, the Phoenix Suns in the second quarter after scoring 22 in the first, scored at 9 in the second quarter. 9. Okay?
Yes.
9. So if you look at that second quarter, they were 4 of 22 from the field, 1 of 12 from beyond the arc. That's the key there. Of their 22 shots, 12 of them were from beyond the arc. And this reminded me a lot of the game against the Golden State Warriors that we ended up winning. The Phoenix Suns aren't going to be, especially with the guys who played in that quarter, right? You had nearly 9 minutes from McHale in the second. You had almost 10 minutes from Cam Johnson in the second. You had 6 minutes of JaVale McGee, 12 minutes of Landry Shamet, Torrey Craig, almost 5 minutes, Campaign 5 minutes, Bismack 5 minutes, Alfred 7 horrible minutes. And he was actually, he had the lowest plus minus in the entire, or no, Ish Wainwright did in the entire quarter. But you're not going to be expending your energy and putting yourself in a position to where you could get injured by driving to the hoop. So you're just going to be chucking up threes and hope they go in. And they didn't go into that quarter. They shot 8.3% from three, Matthew.
Sounds about right. Nothing was really going right, though. Even when Cameron Payne would go to the rim, like his angles and stuff he was taking, they weren't falling. Like there's a few times he had Paul George off the dribble and took him to the rim, and just wasn't falling for him. Even his three, he airballed a three. And I love the fact that the Suns did settle for the threes. I mean, 48 of them tonight, which is just, I don't know the stats on that. I thought you would have a stat about 48 threes taken. We're probably 0 for 4 or 0 and 4 this year when we take that many threes, because that's a lot of threes.
I'll pull it up.
And that's something that, I was rooting for, because that's what got us back in the game. I think it was Torrey Craig with like the short arm threes tonight. Like his three looked totally different. He was short arming them, and they would just go in nothing but net. So it was interesting, because I was actually hoping to see more from Cameron Payne, because he got a lot of flack last game.
Yeah.
Tonight, it didn't look too good either. So it's weird. It's not there. What's weird is they're going to be playing these next two games right this way, out of sync, kind of, I feel like, until the playoffs start, because they're not going to be playing with the same rotations, right? So we got to figure that out, I guess, when they come back to the playoffs. So that's another thing to think about, not to worry about. It's just another thing to think about. Just know that these guys aren't used to doing what they're doing, especially when you bring in Lundenberg at the end of the game, even though they started playing way better when he came in.
Oh yeah, and we'll talk about that here momentarily. Focusing on that second team unit, you're 100% right. And also, you have to understand that the Clippers, who just got Norman Powell back, this is the first game of Norman Powell being back. PG's in his third game back, maybe fourth game back.
He's off and on, I think.
Yeah, so they're not, the Clippers are locked into the 8th spot as well. So they're going out there, they're getting their reps, and then they're resting their guys as well. I mean, this is the end of the season. Not only do these games not necessarily matter for the Suns, they're not mattering for the opposition either. The Jazz are a team that when we play them, it's going to mean a little bit more to them, because they are still fighting for positioning in the playoffs. I'd have to actually look at it to see exactly where they fall and if that game is going to matter when we play them on Friday. But most likely it will, and most likely they're going to put forth an effort that's going to exceed the Suns. And it's nice to see the Jamsters in the chat, and nobody's freaking out. Nobody. Like we've gotten to that point where we've hit this beautiful sweet spot where it's like we were down 39 in this game, and no one in the chat is being like, you know what? This, Rome is burning. Now, granted, the conversation that everybody's having is along the lines of Elfrid Payton, Aaron Holiday, Iffy Lundberg. What do you do going into the playoffs? Because I'll tell you what, Elfrid Payton, once again, just underwhelmed. Straight up. 11 minutes, almost 12 minutes played, so not a ton of minutes for Elf, but he was 1 for 7 from the field. He had 1 assist. He just did not look good. And then you have Aaron Holiday comes in, who plays 18 minutes. He goes 4-10 from the field, has 16 points, has 7 assists, has 6 rebounds. And part of you goes, hey, if Monty Williams would let go of this experiment with Elfrid Payton, it's something about these guys who wear number 2. It's like him and like Elie Okobo just have a trance on Monty Williams to where he gets the nod as the backup to the backup point guard, the 13 point guard, where it needs to be Aaron Holiday. Does it not? Going into the playoffs, that's the one thing I'm taking from this game. I'm not taking much from this game, but I'm taking that.
I wish I could say yes, but the way it's looking is it's not going to be. I feel like he's getting these minutes because he's warming up. I think the defense is kind of there, but seriously, that floater, man, you got to flush that down the toilet. That is the nastiest thing. What he does when he goes in the paint, for some reason, he still thinks that he can get these little layups over these big men. He gets swatted. Like, as soon as he goes in the
Yes.
paint, he's going to get swatted. The only time really he didn't is when he threw this nasty floater up and hit off the backboard, the back of the rim. And it's just like, okay, what kind of forced shot is that? I feel like one of the best parts, because the Suns' offense is just amazing. One of the best parts is we don't force a lot of shots ever unless he's on the court. Alfred Payton's like the last guy that really forces a lot of shots in the paint. The other guys, they can get their shots off. Of course, they have better angles, a better length, but whatever Payton is doing in the paint, he needs to knock that off. But the full court defense looked a little bit good. He looks good defensively, but that's the thing we always talk about, him defensively. And then also when you have Holiday coming in, him defensively, I would say they're about equal, but I trust Holiday more offensively just because he'll make the fewer mistakes. But I feel like if Monty's going to play Holiday more going into the playoffs, you would think you would see him more in these next two games. So I hope we do, because that's always a question on Twitter. It's always a question in these podcasts after the game is how come he's not playing Holiday? What is the thing? Why is he in the trance, like you said, with Alfred Payton? Because it has to be something where Holiday needs to get more minutes these next two games and prove that he can be that guy, the third guy. He might not get any minutes in the playoffs.
Exactly.
But he'll probably just be the third dude. We just got to know for sure, because I think a lot of the Suns fans, that's what they want. They want Holiday to be that third guy.
Yeah, and you're seeing a lot of the Jamsters are mentioned in the chat, cut Elf. And I support this. I support this cause because I look at it like this, okay? The one thing that Alfred Payton has over Aaron Holiday is his defensive capability, right? But if we are playing him in a third team situation or a second team situation due to rest, an injury, God forbid, any of those situations, you don't necessarily need somebody to come in and play lockdown defense. I would rather have an offensive mindset for the player who's coming in to substitute to keep the points going, because nothing's worse than a drought that occurs when your second team comes in. We've seen it for years. You watch bad basketball teams, that's what happens. Their starters will have 2 or 3 guys who are really good at providing offensive production and putting points on the scoreboard. And then when they try to get those guys some rest, the second team comes in and can't hit the broadside of a barn. And, that's the definition of Alfred Payton. Whereas at least with Aaron Holiday, he's a little bit more offensively minded. He can hit some shots. He can set up his fellow teammates and allow them to be successful consistently. And he doesn't just drive into the basket every time. Alfred Payton has one move, and it's I'm going to the middle. Because he is no threat outside. Every guy who starts a possession on him defensively is 4 feet inside of the arc because they know he's not going to shoot. There's no accountability there. So again, if we're going to prioritize what that position, what that roster spot should be, I would say offense over defense, and that equals Aaron Holiday over Alfred Payton.
I'm totally with you. And Payton must have something with Monty where they talk, and then Monty's just basically like, hey, like, I'm going to give you some minutes to really prove yourself. And just like, yep, the free throws were nasty too. the free throws were the cherry on the Sunday, man. But I think they talk, and I think basically Payton's just like, well, give me a few more games. Let me see what I can do. That's the only thing I'm thinking. Because, I mean, Monty, he seems like a coach, right, that would give these guys extra minutes and see if they could prove themselves if they ask for it. I feel like maybe Payton had to ask for it, because I don't think Monty, even though you think maybe he is in trance with them, I don't think Monty would really go out of his way to be like, Payton, you're going to keep playing, you're going to keep getting minutes, unless Payton's asking to be that guy still.
Yeah, I think,
I don't know.
In my point of view, Alfred Payton's a veteran. Monty respects his veterans. Alfred must bring something to the locker room that he sees valuable, and he wants to continue to fan the flames, not to take a pun, if you will, off of one of our good podcast buddies, the Fanning the Flames podcast, but he likes to fan the flames of whatever he's bringing to the locker room. Alfred Payton was with Devin Booker and Chris Paul at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. So I mean, he's got a presence that brings some value. The only place he doesn't bring value, unfortunately, is to the on the court.
On the
And
court.
and one of the questions, we have two-way contract players, right? You have Iffy Lundberg, and welcome to Phoenix, Iffy Lundberg. You made your first shot tonight. If I remember correctly, you made only one shot tonight.
3.
Yeah, he hit
got
that
the
3.
fingers, too.
He was 1 for 4. Had 5 assists, a couple rebounds. So welcome Iffy Lundberg. But both him and Ish Wainwright are two-way players. And Ish Wainwright, career high tonight, 20 points for Ish, 8 of 15 shooting, 4 of 8 from beyond the arc. He had 8 total rebounds, 4 assists as well. A career night for Ish Wainwright. He helped get this team back in it. And that's a question that you have to ask is, do you cut Elfrid Payton in an effort to try to bring one of these players, one of these two-way contracts onto this roster for the playoffs? We know that you might not necessarily need them, but I feel like both of them would be more productive than Elfrid Payton. And perhaps I'm being unfair because I've seen Iffy Lundberg play a total of like 15 minutes in a Suns uniform. But I mean, shit, So,
yeah, that's
so. What do you think?
I think Wainwright for sure is going to get the minutes. I think he can get minutes in the playoffs for sure. He's proven himself not in just this game. Like he blends in really well offensively and defensively. He can hit that corner 3. Monty trusts him with it. EG even said that tonight, but I've known that for a while, right? He's been in the mix, but he'll miss a few games here or there, but he's always been in the mix. He's always been like the third guy on the depth chart to come in and really help out. But also the thing is, Payton, I'm going to say they're going to keep him. I don't know if if they have to get rid of one guy, it'd probably be Lundberg, right? I know tonight was awesome, his first game and all that, but I'm just saying Payton, even though we're not trusting him, I mean, we would trust him more over Lundberg. I would think just because of experience, I guess, if you have to rely on somebody, maybe at Elfrid Payton, because defensively he is better than Lundberg, but I don't even know yet. I don't know what Lundberg looks like, but that's the thing is like, you don't know what to expect from this guy. And that's probably the one reason that we choose the other two over him going into the playoffs.
Yeah. And Mario Lopez says it in the chat, and I don't know the validity of this. Two-way players cannot play in the playoffs. I know two-way players can't, but I think we're probably past the point of no return where if we were to cut Elfrid Payton, you can't sign
too many rules.
Yeah, I know. You can't sign
so
Ish
annoying.
Wainwright to a full contract just to bring him into the playoffs. So
whatever you say, Mario Lopez. I trust the Jamsters more than anybody.
Yeah, trust me. Yeah, you guys are like our fail safe. That's why one of the great reasons or one of the great things about doing a live podcast right afterwards is we have instant feedback. So we're just not going to sit here, talk for like 30 minutes on it. And then we go back and we listen to it and everyone comments on it and be like, dude, dumbass, you can't even bring them guys on the, you can't even bring them on the roster. And after Tiger 25 says, if I understand correctly, tomorrow's the deadline to cut and sign. So
we'll probably find something out then.
Yeah. So I don't know. That'd be crazy.
That's maybe why they're playing
Payton. If they cut Elfrid Payton, that'd be pretty interesting.
Lundberg is more. He seems like he has more confidence on the floor for sure.
Oh, without a doubt.
He was
he's a mature
shot. I thought he
player.
shot 10 times tonight. And Lundberg, his defense too. He can really get into.
He's
somebody,
long,
right?
dude. He's got like a 7-foot wingspan.
He's on top of him though, but like he had a few fouls. I think he had one foul. At least I saw. And I just thought he was really up in the guy's business, but he was still keeping a good distance away from him. It was kind of like unusual defense. Like I'd never seen kind of a defense like have their feet underneath the guy in a way. It was kind of weird. I like the way he was defending these guys, and you could see like the other team trying to give him a hard time because he is new to the league, right? And they're trying to just do what they want with the guy. But I like his confidence on both defensive and offense.
Yeah, I do too. And again, he's a well-polished player. I was listening to somebody, and they said that I believe it was last offseason or 2 off seasons ago when they were talking about the top free agents out there. He was like number 23 on the list because of the exploits that he's done over in the Russian league. So he is definitely a player who has some experience and has a confidence about him. And it's just too small of a sample size. That's the unfortunate thing. But the fortunate thing is for these next couple games, like we get to see him play. We get to see number 19 out there. It's been since Leandro Barbosa, but I mean, number 19, we all remember Raja Bell. He was number 19.
That's what I think of when I see him every time.
Me too. I was like,
Your
yeah,
favorite
look at that.
player.
Yeah. I was not a Raja Bell fan.
I know. That's why I said that.
I remember somebody gave me a signed picture of Raja Bell, and I like gave it to somebody.
I think everyone has one of those. Everyone just has a Raja Bell signed picture somewhere.
Like I respected his defense, but I don't know. I just wasn't the hugest. And when we traded him, and then we ended up getting Jason Richardson, I was through the moon because I love Jay Rich. I'm like an offensive player. again, the defensive thing, it just didn't make sense in the confines of who the Phoenix Suns were at that time. You needed that defensive enforcer, and Raja Bell was just more bark than bite, I feel like, outside of the fact that he knocked Kobe over in that one. So anyways, sorry about the Raja Bell.
Sorry, it happens.
Right,
we have to bring it up once a month at least.
Every time we see Iffy Lundberg, we're like, yeah, Raja Bell. It was nice to see Cam Johnson out there getting a little bit more of a rhythm, both on offense and on defense. I think that's important, especially going into the playoffs. So he gets his drop.
Lights, Cameron, action.
He's the Sun who played the most amount of minutes tonight. 31, almost 32 minutes for Cam Johnson. Yes, he was 3 of 13 from the field. Yes, he was 1 of 9 from beyond the arc. So he's still miserable out there. But I like the fact that he was starting to attack the rim again. And that's what's important. When he starts to do that, he's more engaged in the game, I feel. And things will come to him, I'm hoping, please.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can count on it. I hope so. Otherwise, I'd have to return the jersey I never got. The Cam Johnson jersey never came my way. Defensively, he looked really good, I thought. But he's not like falling all over the place like the last few games. I feel like defensively, he was kind of all over the place and kind of running into players when he shouldn't be, and he was almost injuring himself. Tonight wasn't really. He was a little bit more stable on defense. Getting to the rim though, it was nice because it looks like he's making like a straight line attack. Like he's actually the last few games, he's kind of just like, you know what? He's like, I'm stronger than these guys. I should be just going straight at them at the rim. Before, I feel like it was like kind of going around. Like he was taking like the long way around all the time. Now he's just beelining it. The only thing is like finishing at the rim. He's having a hard time with that. It seems like Cam Johnson. It looks like him, right? Smells like him. Everything is there. Just like the shots aren't going in, so it's not complete. He's like at 99%, 98%. And 100% hopefully before the playoffs. And I love these minutes. Like, keep giving him the 30 minutes the next 2 games.
Yeah, see, I think he's at like 80%. He's still got a ways to go. I like the shot looks good. I think that there's a lot of, those shots need to start falling for him really, because that's his value. His value is a 3-point sharpshooter. And between him and Landry Shamet, who also just was chucking him up today, he was 2 of 8 from beyond the arc. So between Cameron Johnson and Landry Shamet, they were 3 of 17 from beyond the arc. 8 points for him. Yeah, playoff basketball, baby. I mean, it was just like, it's so funny if you look at the box score, because you look at the starters and it's like Mikal Bridges negative 32, and I'm talking the plus minus, obviously. Cam Johnson negative 21, JaVale McGee negative 28, Landry Shamet negative 32, Cam Payne negative 23, and then you look at like the bench, plus 7 for Torrey Craig, -3 for Elfrid Payton, shocking. Bismack Biyombo plus 24, Iffy Lundberg plus 22, Aaron Holiday plus 30, Ish Wainwright plus 36. So it's such a lopsided, and it's the same thing obviously for the Clippers. To see just such lopsidedness. It was a funny, weird, odd game on this Wednesday night.
Yeah, it was. It was like worse than playing a game of Monopoly. It was pretty tough to get through. It's like, is this ever gonna end?
Amen.
The Suns Jam Session subreddit stakeout.
So yeah, that's what I did tonight. I hung out on the Clippers subreddit. Barren wasteland, very different from that of the Lakers that I saw last night. One of their first questions is something that I think Suns fans can all empathize with. Obviously, this game was also on ESPN. Matthew, it sounds like you watched the Bally Sports broadcast. I watched probably about the first 10 minutes of the game on ESPN, and then I pulled the classic Eddie Johnson, man, fuck this, and went over to Bally Sports Arizona. But the first thing that was said on the Clipper subreddit, y'all think Doris is worse than Reggie? And that's a good question.
That's tough.
That's tough.
It's like, which arm do you want to lose? That's what. Yeah. Well, I guess I would lose my left arm.
I guess so. Which one's your left arm? Is that Doris or Reggie? But what was interesting was how consistently, and it's interesting, because I'm bouncing between Twitter and I'm on my phone just like the whole time, but I'm bouncing between Twitter and the Clippers subreddit. Yeah. And on Twitter, you can see Suns fans being like, dude, Doris Burke sucks. And I agree with that. Like, I'm just not a fan of ESPN broadcast, period. When they have JJ Redick on, that is a good one, probably because he's pro Suns.
Has he been on there?
Yeah, he was on that one game
He's too good for that, dude.
with
He's
Dave
too good.
Pash, who's a local
Okay.
guy. So you have guys who aren't necessarily I mean, maybe they are biased and they're biased towards the Suns, and I'm okay with that. But you have this whole sect of Suns Twitter that's like, fuck Doris Burke.
Mhm.
And then you have the Clippers subreddit, and they were trashing her the whole time, talking about how, I mean, I didn't put all this stuff, but, you know, here goes Doris and her son's dick riding. You know, I'm watching the Spanish feed just for that reason.
What?
They were saying that she is just.
What about her son?
The Suns.
Oh, I was like, wait, what? I'm sorry, I forgot. Her team name is.
They said that she was all over
Blonde
Devin
right
Booker and, you know, sucking off the Suns and saying how great Devin Booker was, and you know, and I get it because they were probably having those conversations on ESPN about how Devin Booker's an MVP candidate, and that sounds like the Clippers fans were taking exception to that. So it's just funny because it reminds you that every fan base thinks that every announcer's against them, and we're not special when we sit there and bitch about that on this podcast. If we were a Clippers podcast, we'd be talking shit about Doris Burke, but that's gross, and no one would ever be a Clippers podcast.
Yeah, you know, honestly, I kind of like Doris Burke. I don't mind her. I just don't pay attention to really what she says. I don't know what it is. But yeah, her son, too much porn, Lissy. Yeah, the stepmom stuff or whatever, her stepson stuff. But okay. Yeah, so Doris Burke, whatever. But everyone's always just disrespected no matter what, right? I mean, we're disrespected by everybody in the world, I guess. Because honestly, when you're winning with this, like we are right now, we've been so disrespected all year. But then everyone, I love that you're doing the subreddit. It looks like all the Jamsters love it too. It's their favorite segment now. So this is awesome. But we're going to be hearing this in every subreddit. The disrespect from everybody, how much we hate. It's the same stuff.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
the same thing.
But the best thing about it is the different terminology utilized. That's why I like it. I like hearing, you know, what they called Jay Crowder last night, a fuckwit. Like, that's a great term.
And it's an Australian thing, right? That's what someone commented. Someone commented in the YouTube. They said it's an Australian thing to call
somebody a fuckwit. Yep. That's interesting. The more you know. Right back to the Clippers subreddit. And here's an interesting observation. And again, this kind of takes everything that we think about our team and puts it just a little bit on its side, right? Because we are a team and we are fans who are very critical of the Phoenix Suns when it comes to their rebounding, right? As I mentioned a couple podcasts ago, you know, you have to remember that the Phoenix Suns currently are when it comes to defensive rebounding, we're third in the league. Now we're 22nd in offensive rebounding, which puts us at 11th in the league in total rebounding. Okay. Now the Clippers, who are getting ready to enter the playoffs, and you know, they're going to have to potentially play in that play-in, or they will be playing in the play-in game. A win for them means they avoid the Suns. A loss for them, but a secondary win gets them against the Suns. They're a team that is 11th in defensive rebounding, 27th in offensive rebounding, and 22nd in total rebounding. So one of the observations made on the Clipper subreddit is Suns are fucking crazy at rebounds. If you don't know already, we better not get out hustled. And then the next comment was up 20 points or down 20 points. We can't let bench players have 5 offensive rebounds in 8 minutes. They were talking about Bismack Biyombo at that point. Somebody else comment on that says it doesn't matter who we put in our lineup or who we play against. We're going to give up way too many second chance points. We just have to accept this team is allergic to boxing out. And then one last person said it is going to hurt our momentum in the playoffs. Second chance points are a killer when you play great defense for 24 seconds, or when you play great defense for 24 seconds. Sounds like some of the gripes that we've had recently about the Phoenix Suns when you know, we're sitting a bunch of people and we're not getting rebounds, right?
Yeah, exactly. And just really quick, shout out Blaze Megatron. I'm the Aussie that confirmed the fuckwit thing. And also Luke Carter, I'm Aussie and I second the confirmation. So yeah, it's our new Jamstar.
We got to get one of you guys on here and have you actually say it. Like I want to hear an Aussie say it with the accent. Like
make it into a drop, right?
Yes.
There you go. So who said it earlier, right? It's all effort, right? When the
Yes.
Suns come out and they play with effort like they did tonight with the second unit, especially, and even McGee was awesome. Like that effort is the reason why we rebound so well defensively. And like I said earlier, how these fan bases are just the same. We're the same as all of them. We're going to talk about the rebounding, and then we're going to be scared of the rebounding, especially when the Suns do come back. You're going to be very frightened that, it's always like those hustle parts of the games where the Suns are making the comeback and you just think your team's not going to get a rebound, right? That always happens. My voice just cracked a little bit.
No.
It happens all the time. And I always get scared too. I'm like, the Suns aren't going to get this board. The ball's not going to bounce their way.
Yep.
And the effort by the Suns tonight on the boards was great. And that's one thing that, we kind of talked about a little bit, being worried about the boards. I'm not too much because I know the effort will be there from DeAndre and McGee and just the rest of the guys. Team rebounding will be there in the playoffs.
But that is something to watch as the Clippers prepare for their playoff run, is if that's what ultimately kills them. Luke Carter says, hold your nose and say it and you will sound Australian. Matthew, give it a go.
Well, I already sound stuffed up. Fuckwit. No, I just sound the same.
Fuckwit. Yeah, it didn't work for me.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll keep trying. A couple other things from the Clippers subreddit on the subreddit stakeout. When you have the Robert Covington wedgie, right? The hard foul by Torrey Craig. Okay. These are some great comments. This is the good stuff. It's like, that looked like it hurt. Craig sucks his dad's nerps. Craig dirty as fuck. I thought this game ain't serious. This dude trying to charge full court for a block. Flagrant 2, suspended for 10 seasons. Suns forfeit the game.
Craig was he's the one that turned the ball over, so that makes sense for him to go after the block like that. So
yeah. So oh man, it's and then obviously, they're kicking the shit out of us. They're up by 39. One person, I know this is just one game, but this might be the best 5-man lineup in the history of the NBA. Landry Shamet, former. Well, it's because they're going to talk about Luka in a second. Landry Shamet, former member of the Los Angeles Clippers. Oh, Landry, how I haven't missed you, was one comment. Luka is definitely a spicy white step up from Landry. Luke is. They're talking about Luke Kennard.
Oh, Luke Kennard. Okay.
Yeah. And then they, a lot of the love was for the fact that they can't believe they got blessed with Norman Rocco. And I think that, that's the big thing that I want to take away from this. I want to talk about just for a couple minutes is the fact that, they have Norman Powell and they have Robert Covington now, and they haven't had those guys healthy together yet with the whole team. I mean, the whole team, we're not even talking Kawhi Leonard. With those guys, I'll ask you this, and Coach Fallen Founder, one of our elite jamsters, said it in the chat. Is this Clippers roster better or worse than last year's playoff roster, in your opinion, Matthew?
Okay, so it is better. The thing is, like, even Espo was talking about how, you don't want the Suns to have to play this team if Kawhi and if Paul George are there, because I know Kawhi was actually in the gym, and there's something about a 2-second video of him just walking on there because he didn't want anybody to record. So he might be coming back. So with those two, and then you have Covington and Powell coming off the bench, it's scary. It's deeper. It's very scary. And that's why they got these guys. It was maybe for next year. But honestly, we talked about when the trade happened, and I brought up the fact that, if they're together, and I'm sure everyone thought of this too, if they come back, Paul George and Kawhi, and they have this as their base, it's very scary. And honestly, I don't take Kawhi as a guy like, hey, he has to get in a rhythm. He has to, he has to find his way in his offense. He's like, no, I think that he's scary if he comes back and he's 70% and it's a 7-game series and he works his way into it. That's very scary to face, and it's kind of unfair. That's why we were rooting for them to get the 7th seed.
Yes, agreed. 100% agreed. And I think they're clearly. I mean, Terrence Mann was a big part of this team last year in the playoffs. That alone should tell you how better this team is. Terrence Mann was out there in garbage time tonight playing for the Los Angeles Clippers. I mean, he's so that just kind of shows you that this team is going to be much deeper. They're a wing team. Nicholas Batum, Marcus Morris. They got Ivica Zubac for size on the interior. And again, the weakness with all those wings is the rebounding, right? But with Norman Powell, with Robert Covington, the healthier that team gets and the chemistry, the more chemistry they develop, this team is a sick team. I think they're definitely built for next year, and they should be considered one of the favorites entering next year if everybody's healthy. So, but again, if we're fifths, we'd all be drunk, right?
Exactly.
But still, I think they're definitely better.
And also, Jay says, "Oh no, they didn't." I said 70% of Kawhi. Like, if he is 70%, the thing is, like, no one knows what the hell's going on with Kawhi.
Yeah, exactly.
He might be just ready to go, and he might just be waiting till the playoffs. Who knows? You don't know with this dude.
Exactly. And again, you're saying if it's 70% of Kawhi, if he's playing out there and he's 70% of his normal self, it's still pretty scary, which I agree with that. The last comment I wanted to bring up on the subreddit stakeout was when they were talking about Elfrid Payton. They're like, they got Walmart brand Bledsoe in there. And I thought that was funny as shit. So I thought I'd share that with you.
It's maybe Kmart, dude.
It's
Booker everywhere.
It's Radio Shack. It's Radio Shack. It's not even that. So did want to bring up this before we get to the jam star of the game on this one. Let's see. Boop. Big Dick Booker. Yeah, I know. Devin Booker didn't play tonight. But one of the things that we didn't get to talk about on the podcast yesterday, because we were recording and it was happening as we were recording, was the fact that following achieving the franchise record for wins in a season, Devin Booker signed his jersey and gave it to Al McCoy last night. Did you see that?
I did. It's amazing. It's like the way Devin Booker is and how he handles himself, like with this organization off the court, the things he does is just always like the right thing to do, right? Their relationship, of course, no one ever talks about like McCoy and the players' relationships, but McCoy's seen Booker go through so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think their relationship is probably pretty tight. And the way he handled himself after the game, give him the jersey, it's just one of those things where it's like, would another player do that? Would another franchise player even think to do that? That's what it goes through my mind. It's just like, and I don't know, is this McCoy's last year or does he have a few more years in him? I don't know. But, for a franchise record, 63 wins that no one even talked about today or last night for the Suns game, I didn't hear one peep about it. It meant a lot to McCoy, I'm sure. So that was a really awesome thing that Booker did.
Al McCoy is a staple of this organization, and there's been debates, kind of fun debates, things we talk about during the pandemic on our podcast just to pass time. It's like, if they were to build a statue in front of the stadium, who would they do it of? Barkley or Nash? And my answer was always Al McCoy. Al McCoy is the guy when it comes to the Phoenix Suns. He's pretty much seen it all. And to have Devin Booker recognize who he is, to have that relationship with this franchise the way that he does, and to understand what's important to this franchise. When I saw that, I'll tell you this, Matthew. I mean, you've known me for a long time. Sean Marion's always been my favorite Phoenix Sun. Always. I love the way that he played. I love the way that he defended. I love the way that he had kind of the fuck you attitude. Devin Booker's my favorite player in Suns history, period now. Like, he exudes class. He exudes class. He is the best thing that I have ever seen, the best player, the best human that I've seen play for this organization, watching this team since 1988. And I saw that, and it's like you said, he does all these little things that mean something to somebody, that he's not doing that he's not doing that to get the photo taken. It happened to be right there in press media row, so he's going to sit there and or it's going to be seen. But at the same time, that's not what he's doing it for. He's doing it for Al, because Al's been here forever, and he got to witness the Suns' victory, and he's been a part of the season of the best regular season of all time. And Devin Booker recognized that moment, and like, it's not even close. Devin Booker's my favorite Phoenix Sun, and I never thought I'd say those words. I really didn't. We all have those attachments, those emotional attachments to the players that we loved, right? Like, as a kid, I loved KJ. Now, Michael Jordan was my favorite player growing up. I loved Michael Jordan. But KJ was my son, right? Not my actual son, like my Phoenix son. Loved him. And then obviously when the 1990 draft happened and Sean Marion became a member of the Phoenix Suns, and I got to watch him grow with this organization, and then we took off like a rocket when Nash showed up. I always loved Marion because he was always there first, right? And I love the way, like I said, how he played. But Devin Booker has been through so much with this organization. We've been there right along with him, suffering through the bullshit, going through all of the turmoil and the external conversations about he's going to New York. Oh, he doesn't want to be there, yada, yada. And he's never wavered. And then to see that moment tonight, that was it, man. Like, Devin Booker, you are my favorite Phoenix Sun of all time.
Yeah. The last month of Booker has been insane. Like, he was the best player on this team for sure. MVP before the season started, and then even midway through, I'm like, it's Chris Paul for sure. Chris Paul already passed Steve Nash for me as my favorite point guard for the Suns, right? And I've always thought Booker would be the best Sun of all time once he's retired.
Mhm.
He will be. He'll be that statue too next to McCoy. And I think that the way he handles himself is just it's really exceptional, and I think that he has a lot more to do here. Like, this is just the beginning. It's insane how early he is still in his career, and the last month though, he's put in a lot of work to really just not showboat himself, but show what a great player he's been. And then also this thing with McCoy just shows, like, off the floor, like, how great of a guy he is.
Yeah, and again on the court, he has that killer instinct like Jordan had. As much as we hated Kobe, we respected him, and he's got that same kind of mentality. And I just love to see it. It's that, I love to see it. So, I saw this question on Twitter a couple days ago, and it's from @the_Matt_Peterson, and he says, "Random Suns specific question: Who's the fourth player on Suns Mount Rushmore? It's got to be Nash, Barkley, and Booker, right? For the first three spots. Maybe I'm wrong on that too. I don't think he is. I think it's Nash, Barkley, and Booker. If I'm not, that fourth spot feels tough. Westfall, KJ, Davis, Stoudemire, Hawkins, Paul, just got me stewing. Who's your fourth on the Suns Mount Rushmore? If and correct me if I'm wrong, I think Nash, Barkley, and Booker are the top three. Who's number four? Fabio, Isaiah Kane, and
yeah, I'm gonna say Chris Paul. I think he's meant that much. I know it's been short, but he's gonna play here another couple of years, dude. And I'm not talking about in the future. Just right now, I think no one's really ever experienced a team like this in Phoenix ever. This is never. I know in the '93, whatever, but this is something different. This is just like building, and it started with Chris Paul coming here, and of course Booker being here as well. But Chris Paul coming here and already being my favorite point guard, and we're already putting Steve Nash up there, so I had to put Chris Paul right next to him, and Booker, and then Charles Barkley, I guess.
Gotcha. Well,
Chambers,
respect.
yeah, always overlooked, right?
Yeah. Some great answers by the Jamsters. Al McCoy for the fourth face from Coach Fallen Founder. Shot Chucker says Jimmer, Jimmer Fredette. Yeah, right. Ted Lubin, the original son, Van Arsdale. Chambers, Mario Lopez. It's going to be Ayton. Diana Taurasi. If this was Phoenix Sports, yes. Tricks, Paul, KJ. Someone's going to say it, so I will. Dragon Bender.
Yeah, there you go.
Danny Shays, man, I remember him. CP3, Hado Turkaloo, Hadu Turkey-Ogluglu, KJ, Chambers now, Paul later. I mean, so there's some, the Oklahoma kid, Alvin Adams could be there, but he's before our time. It's a great question, and there's a ton of different ways you can go there, because you could go, okay, impact on the franchise, or longevity, or most points. I mean, that's Walter Davis.
Yeah, I was gonna say Walter Davis.
So I mean, there's a lot of answers. I don't have a right one. I really don't. I would put Al McCoy if I could. If it was like three players, or you give me four, like I'd say Al, because he's just been there consistently. So
yeah,
but I can make an argument for and against everyone on that list. KJ, I can tell you the for and against. Chambers, I think, is a good one. Chambers really affected this franchise and was really a big part of resetting this franchise. I mean, you had KJ and Marley come in like 88, and then in 89, they bring in Tom Chambers, and the team just goes fucking bonkers, and they're winning 50 games consecutively, just can't get over the hump. And as he started to fall off, you bring in Charles Barkley, and then everything kind of goes. So, again, interesting questions, great questions posed by the Jamster faithful.
Jam Star of the Game.
All right, Jamsters, as a reminder, hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification button, and click the join button if you want to be an elite Jamster. And let us know in the chat who your Jam Star of the Game is. Matthew, who's your Jam Star of the Game?
Did I go first last time?
I don't know. Did you
It
not?
doesn't matter. I'll just get it out of the way. I'm gonna do Ish Wainwright.
Ish. That's the correct answer. Matthew,
It's
what do you win?
correct, and I win Bubble Bath later in a
Bubble
couple minutes.
bath.
Yep, Bubble Bath by
All
myself.
alone.
Barely fitting it, but it's still relaxing, right?
You got to do what you got to do, man. Yeah, I think, Iffy Lundberg's up there. I know he didn't have a great game, but just to see him kind of out there was kind of fun to watch. Aaron Holiday I was a big fan of, but yeah, it was definitely Ish Wainwright and the effort he put forth out there. He's gone from a guy who couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, who we respected his energy. We knew that his shot we hope that it would eventually fall, and it's been falling with more consistency. And I'm happy to see him have the success that he's having. Again, it'd be interesting to see if the Suns can do something, or if they can do something, we don't even know, to get him on the team. I think that he would just be he's a physical guy. He's an imposing presence. He's a former tight end for Baylor. Put him out there and have him D up Pat Bev.
They'll talk about that, right? They're gonna look for the news story, all right? If Lundberg's there, then that's a news story that they're gonna, just like Cameron Payne last year, and then it could be Wainwright. He used to be a tight end. Was it a tight end? There was a tight end at Baylor, right?
Yeah,
you can bring that up 10 times every game. They'll just bring that up, just like LeBron does
every
as a
time
tight
on
end
the
or
national
something.
broadcast. Like, well, he was a tight end at Baylor. Did you know that? Like, yeah, you told me 3 times last game. So. Next up for the Suns, they are playing the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz. Utah backwards is Hat University. They're playing the Utah Jazz in Utah. We don't know roster availability. My assumption is it'll be something very similar to what we saw tonight. If you look at the current standings as they sit right now, you will see that the Utah Jazz are currently slated as the 5th seed. They are a game. Is that a game behind or a game?
They won tonight too. So
yeah. So this is including tonight. They're a game ahead of the Denver Nuggets.
Okay.
So you have to kind of think it out if you're the Utah Jazz. Okay. What does this game mean to you against the Suns? If you're comfortable playing the Dallas Mavericks in the first round, then you don't give a shit. Well, no, you do give a shit. If you want to play the Dallas Mavericks, you want to go out and win this game. If you'd rather play the Golden State Warriors, then you go out and you kind of try to mail this one in, right? And hope that the Denver Nuggets catch you and surpass you so you can end up playing the Golden State Warriors. What matchups do you think that the Utah Jazz would favor?
This is tough. Honestly, I mean, if they're going into this, they're like, hey, we're trying to dodge a team here, I wouldn't do that. Because if you get Dallas or the Golden State Warriors, it's either way, it's going to suck, I think, depending on availability, of course. But I would actually go more the Golden State Warriors way just because of how badly they're falling apart this year, right? Dallas right now is on a hot streak. Dallas, of course, now has Luka in the MVP race, all that bullshit. And they are scary. I picked them to be in the Western Conference Finals, but the way it's looking right now, if they're number 4, we might have to play them next round. I honestly think I would go for the Golden State Warriors. But the thing is, like, I don't like how the teams, of course, and this is the way it is now, but they're trying to lose their way into certain situations. I don't feel like that's ever really happened and worked. You eventually have to play one of the better teams. So you might as well just get it out of the way and see how it goes. Maybe they'll overlook you. Maybe you can just slip one in there, But anyways, yeah, so this Utah Jazz team, they are definitely a trip to me. I don't know if the whole Mitchell thing, I don't think he might not be playing this next game because they want to lose out and get to that other seed. So it's it's a thing where the Suns are going to play anybody either again. So I think Utah has a chance to win, but do they want to win? That's what the NBA and Adam Silver is trying so hard to make these games meaningful, and it still is not. It's so difficult. What are you supposed to do? Just start the playoffs. It's out right away. No more regular season.
No, it's not. It's like, and that should be what Adam Silver's solution is. Like, hey, everyone, we're gonna do 82 games, and then after everyone hits 80, be like, psych, it's over now. They're like, what? Hold on. I was trying to dodge the Mavericks. Shot Chucker says it in the chat. I don't remember this, but he says, never forget Utah ducked the Lakers last playoffs. So if that's the case, I don't recall. I remember I think in Laughlin last year for the end of the season. So I don't remember who was ducking who and whatnot. And I remember I did the podcast from my hotel room there. It was hot as fuck outside. But that being said, you look at Utah. They are 2-2 this year against the Mavericks. They're 1-3 against the Warriors. So that's of note. And also know that Denver is 2 games ahead of Minnesota, and they both have 2 games to play. So Minnesota could technically catch the Nuggets, and if they do so, I don't know the tiebreaker situation, but if they catch them, they could potentially take that over that 6th seed altogether. So Denver's going to be trying obviously to win. They get one more win, they lock up the 6th seed at least, based on how everything's going to go over these last couple of games. Excuse me. So again, it all comes down to what do the Jazz want? Because the Suns, we know it's going to be kind of a similar thing. We're going to see more opportunity for the second team and third team guys, and we'll kind of go from there, right?
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. And then in the comments, R-A-U-W, it'll be the Spurs versus Suns in the first round. So
that'll be interesting.
That'll be interesting. I'll still be scared.
I'm scared I'm scared whoever it is. You know, I'm
scared, dude. Sleep with the nightlight on.
Yes. Sleep with the nightlight on, and you take bubble baths with the nightlight on as well.
It sets just the nightlight. Instead of candles, just a couple nightlights.
Matthew, anything else that we missed from your notes in this game? It was a weird one.
I just closed out of my notes.
Oh, good. Well, I guess the answer to that is no.
Nope.
Well, listen. All right, hold on. Do you think that the Phoenix Suns are going to start any of their starters in the next game?
No.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what you think. I should have done it with your notes.
Just no.
Dang it.
Dang it. If it was more than that, but no, Mikal Bridges is starting. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he will. And he only played 21 minutes tonight, and I think that was absolutely
that's perfect. 5 the next game.
Well, I think on that note, Jamsters, we're going to go ahead and put a little bow on this one, wrap it up, and we'll see you on Friday night. You know, you spend your Friday nights with the jam session. That's the way to do it. And then you take bubble baths with the night lights on. So on that note, thank you for joining us as per usual. Everyone who's watching, you're a true Jamster. You're a true Suns fan. I mean, hanging out here after a game like that, and you want to sit and talk with people in the chat about it and listen to us talk about it. Or if you're listening to this tomorrow, same thing. Like, best fan base on the planet right here. I'm telling you.
Definitely. Yeah. And go home and, join someone in a bubble bath. I might leave the door unlocked to the bathroom. Who knows if anybody comes over or whatever.